Do you ever look at the back of your PC and think to yourself, I must be missing something? There's sure a lot that I could plug in here. What am I missing? What can I take advantage of that I'm not already taking advantage of with this incredible device? In this nugget, we'll find out as we examine all those interesting looking PC interfaces. Now, for most people, when I say a PC connector, they think physical, and we'll start with the physical connectors in this nugget, and then we'll move to the wireless ways that we can connect. But first of all, when I say physical connector to somebody, they're going to immediately think USB, Universal Serial Bus. USB is certainly what I think of too, because there's so many devices that we can connect this way. It turns out there's 3 generations of this technology. So you might see today these 2. When you're shopping for a device, it might say on the package, USB 3. And the reason why they're advertising that is because as each generation of the USB technology has evolved, it's gotten much faster. So you want to target a PC that has a USB 3 port and then go out and get a USB 3 device. The good news is you can still use the 3 device with a 2 port. It's just not going to be as fast. So there is going to be backward compatibility here. Now, the other huge variation, though, that we have to deal with USB is not only the generation of the technology, but the exact type that we're using. Most think about USB-A. There are USB-B that we see with printers commonly. There's all kinds of mini variations, as you can see here, and there's even a micro USB, and this is so common, we're so used to this with our mobile devices today. Now, USB is beloved because it just really kind of works. There's so many cool gadgets that utilize this technology, and with the modern operating systems of today, you just take the USB device, you plug it in, the operating system will recognize it, and you're using that wonderful peripheral with your computer. The thing is, for most people, is they run out of ports, no matter how many were designed in clever ways on the case of their PC. So sure enough, there's USB hubs, and you can see this person quickly consumed all 24 ports when he expanded that way. What are these funny looking ports? Well, it's FireWire. What a cool name, FireWire. And you can see that they were trying to go way faster than USB. And early on they did. It's just that USB graduated to 3.0 technology and actually surpassed speeds that are capable here. We're talking like 400 megabits per second, by the way, if you care, or 800 megabits per second in a second generation FireWire technology. Now notice with FireWire, it goes by a less fun name, and that's IEEE 1394. For your CompTIA A+ exam, I want you to know this technology by both names, okay? So know it by FireWire, know it by IEEE 1394. The most common reason you would use one of these ports, and this is why I use it at home, is I have an external drive that is FireWire, and so when I want to plug in that drive and copy music or movies or photographs to it, I use a FireWire cable because that's the technology that the external drive uses. Remember too, if you've got a PC and you're looking at the back of that PC and you realize I would love a FireWire port, but I don't have one, these are reasons, all these connector types are reasons why we have those expansion slots, typically at the bottom on the rear of the PC. We can take cards that give these ports to us and insert them in those expansion slots. As you know, there's a nugget in this course called PC expansion cards, and you can check out these various form factors that exist for doing this. So think about connecting storage to your machine and you already realize we've got a lot of options. You could have a USB storage device and connect it that way. You could have a FireWire device and connect it that way. But there's a more classic technology, and it's actually called IDE. We don't need to know what IDE stands for. I don't even recall anymore. But I tell you what, a technology has really come along to replace IDE, and that's SATA. That's how we pronounce SATA. Notice here's a SATA port on an exterior of a device. We commonly see them on the interior of the device for connecting the hard drives. We'll often call them SATA hard drives. There's various SATA speeds from 100 megabytes per second to 6 gigabytes per second, and these have been numbered like this. There's SATA 1.0, pretty slow. Then there was 2.0. Then there was 3.0. Then there was 3.2. Everything's getting faster. And then there was SATA, which is even faster. That's where we can get up to 6 gigabytes per second. For us, we would just be concerned with what type of port that we have, and our documentation for our system would tell us that, and then we could get the appropriate disk drive to plug in. Now here's dated technology we might see on the back of our device. It's a VGA port, that's Video Graphics Array. Notice this port has a very unique shape, and you can see the pins that are inside the connector that would connect to this port. Notice also this computer manufacturer tries to really tell us what this is for. That's their attempt at showing us a monitor that's connected to this port. VGA is really going away, but it can be important for us in this reason. Watch this. Let's look at the back of a PC here, and we know there's those expansion slots. And sure enough, what we have done is we've inserted a super high-powered, incredible graphics card in this machine using the expansion slots that exist. Great! So we're getting this incredible, rich video experience and this amazing display, and all that's fine and good. One day, though, that card goes bad, and we have no video. What we can do is we can use the VGA port that is sitting there attached to this PC. It was built in, and we can use that for video as we're troubleshooting that glorious card that failed on us. So many times we're using VGA today as a fallback option when some better technology has failed. A lot of computer power users that you'll meet, when they hear VGA, they literally flinch. Now, why they're flinching is because if there's a problem with their video drivers, their video will go into what's called VGA mode. So that's like crappy mode. It looks awful. There's not this great colors. The resolution looks terrible. And this VGA mode is just literally the computer saying, I can't deliver the rich video experience you're expecting. I'm going to fall back to crappy mode. So if this VGA port that we have right here is considered rather legacy technology, what would be an example of a replacement technology? Well, there it is sitting right next to it. It's an HDMI port. HDMI is going to allow you to carry really incredible video images, and something that's unique about it compared to VGA is that it can also carry really rich audio. So here's a port for both audio and video, and this is the rage today, and you'll see HDMI ports all over the place. You'll see them in your car, you'll see them on your television, your dog may have one on his collar. But newer devices today might possess yet another option when it comes to video, and it's DVI, or Digital Video Interface. We can see one of the variations here, and that's the problem. There are many variations of this technology. There's DVI-I single link, DVI-I dual link, DVI-D single link, DVI-D dual link, DVI-A. Every single port will have this basic shape, but there'll be a different number and orientation of the pinouts inside it. Now, you're probably starting to get a bit of a migraine because you're thinking, wait a minute, we've talked VGA, HDMI, now DVI. What are you to choose? Well, it's really simple. When you are purchasing your device, you're going to see the particular video ports that are available on that device, and then you would purchase a display that works beautifully with that technology. Many displays today will have a bunch of ports. I have a display at home right now that has a VGA port on it, it has an HDMI port on it, and it has a DVI port on it. So this display has been tailor-made to connect to whatever generation of device that I would like when it comes to video. So you have this monitor that has these multiple options. You would go with the better technology. You'd go with HDMI or DVI because you know it's going to be superior in capabilities to the older VGA. Something else to consider, this is hugely important when we are troubleshooting video, is if you have a display that has these different port options to connect to your device, you need to make sure the display knows which one you're going to use. Most displays, this is the good news, will do an auto detection. They'll look at their VGA. Am I connected that way? They'll look at their HDMI. Am I connected that way? They'll look at the DVI. They'll see a DVI connection, for example, and they'll tune themselves to use DVI. If your monitor doesn't feature this auto detection, we're looking at a common troubleshooting scenario here, where the user did not know to select the technology they were using in the menu system of the monitor, and that's why their screen shows nothing. What fun is your electronic device if it can't play Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper? We need audio, and there's lots of options for audio, isn't there? We already mentioned one. The HDMI port can carry both video and audio. But look, on this old Apple TV, even with this old technology, they gave us an analog option for audio. They gave us an optical digital option for audio. That's what I use at home. I've got this killer Sony receiver that plugs into these various devices using digital optical cables, so I get a higher quality of sound. There's another analog audio option that you're very familiar with, and that is the headphone plug and jack. So that would be another example of a way we could give analog audio. Notice also on this old Apple TV, we have an Ethernet port. This is a network port. Specifically, it's called a registered Jack 45 port. I will go into great detail on this port, as well as its little brother, the RJ11 port, in our nugget where we look at network cable connectors and network ports. So that leaves us with one last physical port to cover, and there it is. We're looking on an older Mac here. It's a Thunderbolt port. This Thunderbolt port gives you high-speed connectivity options for video. It could do audio. It could do external storage. It could power a device even. So Apple was a huge fan of this for a while, but interestingly, these ports are starting to disappear from these devices. In our nugget on laptop technology, I'll show you the latest MacBook, for example, and all of these ports are gone. There's just one single USB-C port that we use to power the gadget and also connect some external device. But we don't want no stinking wires today. We want to connect wirelessly to the gadget that we want to use. And these are technologies that I'm going to cover extensively with you in other nuggets. For instance, Bluetooth we love to use with mobile devices. Same with infrared technology. Same with near-field communications. So in our mobile accessories nugget, I'm going to go into detail on those with you. Radio frequency wireless is like 802.11 Wi-Fi standards, and we're going to have 4 or 5 nuggets at least that go into great detail there. Let's just give a high-level overview here, though, a review of these technologies. Bluetooth is awesome for wirelessly beaming information in about the same room. With Bluetooth, we've got an operational range of about 35 feet. We often see this with awesome Bluetooth speakers. You travel with this little gadget, you get to your hotel, you put the gadget anywhere in the room, and then you send audio to it from your smartphone as an example. Infrared technology we see a lot in remote controls. Point the remote at the television and then change the channel. Make sure you're pointing it right at the television. You need to point it right at the object because it literally requires that line of sight connectivity, unlike something like Bluetooth. Radio frequency, like we said, is the wonderful Wi-Fi technologies of today. 802.11 AC is the best example of this, allowing you to surf the internet, as an example, from your laptop anywhere in your home. 802.11 AC has such a great reach, you could probably be in the backyard. Your neighbors could probably be using your connection if you didn't properly secure it. Great, you're paying for your neighbor's internet now. But that's what radio frequency is all about with wireless. And finally, near-field communication. This is for Apple Pay and technologies like that, where you take a mobile device, you hold it right next to another device, and they can communicate. The classic example that I just mentioned is Apple Pay. We're checking out, we take out our iPhone or we use our iWatch, we wave it near the little scanner at the merchant's checkout counter, and we just paid for our merchandise. So we can definitely identify some common characteristics that we would be really concerned with when we are dealing with these connections and these cables and these technologies to make our device more rich in its capabilities. Do we go analog or do we go digital? Digital tends to be preferred from a quality perspective. What is the distance with the technology we're dealing with? How long can the cable be? Or if we're dealing with wireless, how far can we go away from our home and still get the signal? What's the speed? Realizing that as the distance gets greater with the technology, speed might suffer or quality might suffer. What's the frequency? That's an REM song. What's the frequency? Kenneth is my Benzedrine. Gosh, I never could figure out what that guy was saying. The frequency is dealing with wireless technologies and interference. I've told this story a couple times in the CompTIA A+ course, and I'm going to tell it one more time because it's so funny to me. Every time my wife would make microwave popcorn, we were all kicked off the internet. That's because the microwave was interfering with the Wi-Fi signals in the house. So all of these are common concerns that we have when we're shopping for the right connection technology. So my hope is you'll never look at one of these electronic devices the same way again. When you look at the side of your laptop and you see those ports, when you look at the back of your PC, when you look at what's on your smartphone, your tablet, your fitness tracker, there are many interfaces in use today. We toured them in this nugget, and I sure hope this was informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.